Brew, and I just wanted to take a second to just hop on here and talk about branding and author platforms and marketing and all of the above. As you can tell, I did cut my hair, so I look a little bit different. It was time for a change. It was springtime, and I love short hair so much. I did a video um, early on in my YouTube days, where it was the first time I ever cut my hair to a pixie cut. Very good time. Highly recommend chopping your hair if you've never done that. It's just such a fun, such a, it's just, it's a good experience to try something new, gain new experiences, so on and so forth. Um, as you If you're here, I'm assuming that you're probably interested in writing. I'm assuming that you're probably interested in getting published. I'm assuming that you're probably an author or trying to be. And so I wanted to talk today about one of the things that you can do if you are already published or not, um, whether you're trying to get published or whether you're um, self-publishing or whatever it is, right? However you're going about your author journey, I wanted to talk a little bit about something you could do at any stage in the game and something that should be started long before you actually have a product to sell. And that is your platform. It's your branding, it's who you are online. I work as a publicist at a publishing house, and in that role, I work with a lot of different authors with a lot of different brands to help them establish themselves online, help them start growing a platform, and help them start selling their books in all of the ways that they really can, the ways that they have access to. And so, oh, hello, thanks for joining me. And so really, I just wanted to talk today a little bit about what types of platforms you should use, what types of platforms you should have as you go about writing your book, as you go about figuring out your social media plan, and as you go about trying to make your way in the world, in the publishing world. So, without further ado, I have a few favorites. YouTube is one of them. TikTok is one of them. Instagram, Twitter, I love those four more than any other. Personal choice, but I also think that it's beneficial because they do different things, right? Facebook as well, also it does different things, and if you're looking for a pretty decent one-stop shop, Facebook is a really good way to do that. You just have a lot to learn about Facebook if you want to do it that way. All that to say, when you're looking at building a platform, when you're looking at creating a space that people can come to learn more about you and the things that you're working on in your projects, whether that is your books, whether that is your art, whether that is your blog, or if you just are trying to get into this for fun, there's certain things that you need to understand when you're dropping information about news, like things that are happening, things that you're excited about, anything that you should be like ultra aware of, that needs to be on a very fast moving platform. That should be on Facebook, that should be on Instagram, that should be on Twitter. And depending on how quickly those platforms move, you're going to have to talk about it more often than not. So on Twitter, you're going to have to talk about it a lot more than if you're talking about it on Facebook. So how does that play into different things, and why shouldn't you talk about your news on YouTube? Well, you should. You should talk about your news on YouTube, but it shouldn't be the only thing that you talk about. When you upload a video, it should be, depending on your style, you can either upload a short video that's like a little teaser trailer, or you can do a normal video and then tag it on at the end, which is usually the best way to do it. Or at the very, like in the middle, you can have a little commercial break, if you will. Um, and it all just it depends on your brand and how you create videos, and what you're talking about, in your videos. You can also, I mean, the same thing on TikTok. You should have videos that are totally focused on the event that you're trying to promote, and you also should have videos that have nothing to do with the event that you're trying to promote and that are very normal of what you actually post on a regular basis. Um, so whether that's little skits, whether that's comedy, whether that's clips of your speaking events that somebody else in the audience took for you, whether that's you reading portions of your novel, whatever it is, you should have a way to store all of those things in a library. And that would be YouTube or TikTok, or even, I mean, Facebook offers, like, Facebook does have video options now, but the probability of somebody scrolling through and then watching or reading all of your content is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about a library. So, as you're creating this library, um, keep in mind, I mean, you have to have things that are within your capability, right? What is within your very reasonable time frame? What is within your very reasonable, um, what things can you keep up? What things can you maintain? What things interest you? How do you talk about those things differently every single time? And really, it varies only according to your brand, but what you do on those platforms is up to you. It should be something that you are interested in maintaining for a very long time. Um, and because of that, it shouldn't be, as an author, your platform and your brand should not be solely focused on one book. I see authors do this all the time, where they create a YouTube channel, or they create their um, Facebook profile or their Facebook page or their website URL is their book. It's the title of their book, and that works if you only ever plan on writing one book. So, if you want to be a one trick pony, you just want to write that one book and call it good. Um, yeah, you absolutely can do that. You absolutely can create a platform based only around that one book. That's not a bad idea for that scenario. Um, if you are wanting to make writing your full-time job, if you're wanting to make writing your career, you want to have books be your main source of income, do not focus your platform around your first book. Do not focus your platform around just one book. Don't focus it on just one series, because at some point in your life, you will probably write something else. And you need that something else to still fit in your brand. Obviously, depending on your fan base, as you become more well known, your followers grow, people are reading your books, so on and so forth. Depending on your fan base, that will also determine parts of your brand. You look at this with Rick Riordan and Percy Jackson, right? He has a ton of other books, and they're all, his brand is mythology. Um, but Percy Jackson is the one that everybody knows. That's the one that went big, and so his brand does need to be mostly based in his Greek mythos, simply because people will find him and discover him around Percy Jackson more than they'll find him and discover him around the Kane Chronicles, right? Um, and he did some amazingly clever things by writing crossovers between Percy Jackson and the Kane Chronicles. As a branding move, that introduced any Percy Jackson fans to the Kane Chronicles and to the Kanes in general. And probably, I'm sure, sold the original trilogy that he ever wrote as well on top of that, because those fans then found out about this new to them book series. So that was brilliant branding on his part. But as you're creating your brand as an author, think about who you are, think about what you're doing, think about the identifying factors. If you can't use the book title, what can you use? And at that point, I recommend using your name or some variation of your name. So whether that's, for me, author JJ Hanna, or just like JJ Hanna reads, JJ Hanna writes, um, JJ Hanna suspense. That would work as long as I always stay in suspense. But I don't want to say that my handle will be JJ Hanna suspense and then start writing romances. I don't think that that will ever happen because I am not a huge romance fan. But if that ever did happen, that platform would then be confusing. It would be sending mixed messages. It would be better to just say JJ Hanna and let people figure out who I am and what I do for myself by looking at my content, than for them to look at JJ Hanna Suspense, knowing that they'll be able to find like suspense books, and then in my content on my page find romances and be like, well, if they were written by JJ Hanna though, so they must be suspenses, and then have them be fully romance, and then have them be in the hands of the wrong readers. Um, all that to say, as you're looking at your brand, figure out a way to create a library. Um, Yeah. So you'll want a way to create a library around whatever you do. So if you want to do more than write, if you want to write books, but you also want to sell crafts, if you want to be a cosplayer and you want to also and you want to showcase that, but you also want to use your platform that you build all for whatever it is that you're going to be doing. Um, just create a variety. Do things within the realm of everything that find the connecting point, right? So a good example of this is I'm gonna say her last name wrong, but Rachel Maxey. Um, she, I think it's Rachel Maxey. Yeah. She is a all-around crafty person. She also embodies cottagecore. She sews, she crafts, she does home decoration, she does awesome photography stuff. Um, and so while you're in the midst of that, if you go check out her YouTube channel and her Instagram, you'll find sewing videos, you'll find crafting videos where she uses EVA foam to make her home look like um, it's part of a barn. Rachel Maxey, I think. Hold on, let me double check that for you real quick, because I don't want to send you to the wrong place because she's awesome and I love her so much. I love all of her content. Um, but the way that she does that, the way that she, um, yes, Rachel, and then Maksy is her name. But she's phenomenal. Everything that she does, it all falls into the same general color scheme. You know what you're going to expect when she sits down to craft something. You'll know that it'll probably be vintage or historical inspired. But what she's crafting might be home decor, it might be her own clothing, it might be a costume where it's like this big Pixar character, but then make it vintage. She did a whole series on that for a little while. Um, and the way that she's wrapped all of those different elements of her personality into her brand, into her YouTube channel, because YouTube is her full-time job. So while she's doing YouTube videos, she's exploring and expanding on all of the different parts of herself and all of the different parts of her brand. And so on your website, when you create your website, books will be a section of that. Writing will be a section of that. But everything else that you do as well, you said um, you make lawns and stuff like that too. Have that also on your website, just in your branding of yourself. Um, just make it so that it all combines really well. And the nice thing about books and literary people is that they'll probably be interested in everything that you do. Yeah, of course. I'm so glad. um, yeah, it's so good. I I love talking about branding like this with people. And like the trick will be to create that balance between what you're talking about. But you can do that too by finding other books within your genre to talk about, and reading them and then just talking about them, right? So for me, with my suspense novels, that would mean that I'm reading Harlan Coben and talking about Harlan Coben's books, just as much as I'm talking about my own books and talking about my own crafts. And I've been doing this debate for myself recently a lot because I've been thinking about how do I continue to grow in my skills in marketing, while also continuing to develop my personal brand. What does that look like? How does that work? What other ways can I monetize it so that I can do this full time? Um, but in a way that doesn't feel cheesy or incorrect or like I don't know, I still want to be authentically who I am, which means that I'm figuring out a lot of stuff, um, and how it all goes together. How do I mix the parts of me that sew and cosplay with the parts of me that write suspense novels? I mean, the benefit is that I'm usually cosplaying superheroes and superhero character film people. Like the other day, I made a Bucky Barnes jacket, where it's a super casual cosplay. It's literally just like a hoodie with the Bucky Barnes, metal arm sleeve, and I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I talk about this on my author platform because it's not really a suspense book, but the crossover audience is there, right? The audience will be interested in the audience who is interested in Bucky Barnes is going to be interested in me as well, just by nature of what I create and the kinds of stories that I tell. Um, you can actually go, you can see it if you want to. It's on my TikTok page. Um, I did a little transition video with it. I don't usually do transitions, but I had to. It was just fun. TikTok is also author JJ Hanna, if you're on TikTok, or I'll probably be posting about it on my Instagram account soon after the live. So you can go find it. All of those links are down below, or you can visit me at Linktree, slash author JJ Hanna. So linktr.ee slash author JJ Hanna. No H on the end. But yeah, looking into how you merge all of those different aspects of yourself and your brand. How do you be authentically who you are without being so vulnerable that you're no longer being safe online? Because internet safety is still a huge thing. Oh, you have cats? I love cats. Oh my gosh. I love TikTok so much. I love it because it's both fast and a little library, like I was just talking about. So when you want to get the word out about something, you can create a bunch of posts about it, and all of those posts will do to varying degrees of success, but you'll be successfully getting the word out. Um, and while you're doing that, you're also creating a library. 9 cats? Wow! Oh my goodness. That's I love that so much. I so desperately need cats in my life. It's been too long since I have snuggled a cat, and it's probably not even been like a week, but it's been way too long. But yeah, so how do you merge your personality and the things that you do? How do you showcase those things online without being unsafe, without putting yourself out there so much that people can find you or be dangerous to you, or that you get creepy people sending you really creepy messages? How do you avoid that? Um, and part of it is just being really good friends with the block button. The other part of it is creating that very firm boundary line in your branding about what you talk about and what you don't talk about. What do you show online and what do you not show online? Makara Tours is another sewing YouTuber, but she unfortunately had a lot of people finding her house, because she had a lot of followers and subscribers, and so she had to move. She bought a new house and she had to move. And the new rules around that is that nobody gets to see the front porch. Nobody gets to see the outside of the house. On the videos, she can show anything inside the house, but nobody gets to see the outside of her house. because people were being creepy and being weird. So what are the rules that you set up for yourself around how do you keep yourself safe online while also being authentic and being real and allowing people in to like experience your life, see that the people that they're following are real people too, just normal people. Authors in particular, I feel like we walk that line between stardom and fame and in general being still being real. Um, so how do you do that? How do you walk that line really really carefully between those two? For me, that means that I have very specific topics that I talk about. I have different rules around life events that I talk about when I travel. I don't talk about the fact that I am traveling while I'm traveling, and if I do, nobody gets to see my hotel room or the view from my window um, until after the fact. I'll post about it when I'm back home. um, for me too, that looks like, I mean, I'll post pictures of what I'm reading, um, but I won't post about the places that I'm going until after I've been there. I very rarely will ever, unless it's like a super public place, like if I go to the zoo and I'm like, hi guys, I'm at the zoo if anybody wants to come say hi. Um, I'll be hanging out by the lions for the next half hour, like whatever it is. Um, but I'm not to a point in fame yet where that has to be a huge concern of mine. But I do want that plan in place so that in the event that something took off, that I went viral, I want that plan in place so that I can keep myself safe, so that I can still stay within my brand, so that while I am doing this, right, while I'm growing this brand, while I'm growing this platform, I have guidelines around what I can and cannot talk about, and most of those things will be book and literature related, um, because it's a huge part of who I am. It's what I'm talking about. At the same point, though, I'm also trying to protect my ideas and the books that I've written, um, because if I have taken the time to write them, I want to make sure that to the best extent possible, I have people excited about them and interested in them, but I haven't given enough away that somebody could take the idea and make it their own. Um, I mean, if they make it their own, cool, great, perfect. I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. But I don't want somebody to take my idea as is before I can do anything with it. So what do I talk about in the work in progress period? Do I talk about my characters? Do I talk about the plot? I probably don't talk about the plot, but I do probably talk about the characters. I talk about the writing process. I talk about my writing schedule. I talk about how I plot novels. I talk about the books that I'm reading, the movies that are being inspirational for me. I talk about any and all of those things as I go about building this platform and gathering people around me so that by the time I have something that we can all be really, really, really excited about, I have people who can be really, really excited with me. um, that's that's the whole goal of building the platform is to gather the people. So however you have to gather the people, whether that's through freelance writing and articles, getting articles published elsewhere, whether that's through diversifying your social media, right? So whether that's Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, any of the others, Pinterest, it goes on, on and on and on. As you diversify and as you find and reach new people, I mean, some of those people will be crossover. If those people are like me, you're on every single social media that there is, right? You can find me almost everywhere except Reddit. Um, you can find me in so many places. And how do you go about maintaining that balance? Which ones are your defaults? Where do you post the most often? How do you tell your fans, hey, if you want to follow me, here are the best places to follow me? Um, so on and so forth. But as you as you progress in your brand and as you progress in the things that you want to talk about, the things that you want to read, how you showcase those different aspects of yourself. And as you do it safely, there's a lot of really good ways and good things that you can do to still be authentically who you are, and also at the same time be careful and safe and so on and so forth. So that was a really long rant. My coffee is finally ready, so I'm gonna go get my coffee. Again, check my Instagram later if you want to at author JJ Hanna to see the Bucky Barnes coat the cosplay coat that I made. I'm super proud of it. Or you can go, if you're impatient, you can go find me on TikTok and find it there. It was a very fun little quick project, and I highly recommend doing those sorts of things because they don't take as much time or effort or energy, and you still get all of the payoff of having completed something. So, until next time, I will see you then. Thank you so much for joining me today. I want to do more lives like this in the future, so if you have questions for me to answer, send them my way. There's a contact form on my website, or you can just I'll be posting like Q&A, ask me anything sorts of things on my Twitter and my Facebook and my Instagram. So, and my TikTok. But if you ask me on TikTok, I'll probably reply on TikTok. Okay, until next time. Bye.